Hello, viewers, and welcome. Yes, you joined me at another track. I can hear you guys saying, finally. But yes, I went to another track and it was actually terrible. My session this time was actually really bad. I was constantly hitting walls and sliding, but it was a learning session as I wasn't quite prepared for the amount of grip that this track had. It was properly rubbered in and had a little bit of torque compared to the one I normally go to, which is also on a slope. This one is a lot flatter. So this one's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to actually walk you through the session. It's a very short session, so there's not much time for me to adapt, but it was a good learning session for me as I wasn't used to this kind of grip. So I'm just going to walk you through it. Let's get into it. So the very first thing I noticed coming out of the pits was the grip was so much more than the previous track. If you look closely, you can actually see a little bit more tar and it's a lot less shiny than the other one. That's because it actually had proper tarring and rubber on the track. So the grip was immense, and I think the tires were also brand new because I was actually struggling at some sessions to hold the kart. But these karts were also very well maintained because the throttle and the brake were a lot harder. They're not as flimsy as the other ones, so these karts are well maintained. So it was a good session in order for me to get some feedback on how to drive a proper kart, but I made a lot of mistakes. The very first mistake I made was actually when coming around these first few laps. I didn't properly get used to the track. I didn't learn how to warm up the tires. I went too fast out the gates. That was a massive mistake on my side, which I probably shouldn't have done. I didn't know the track, I didn't know the grip, and I just decided to go for it, which was not right.
I want to go fast.
So there's the start finish line, and I'm just going to walk you through the lap. So there's the first hip, and I didn't get that one quite nicely, not using all the track. There's the second one. This section was actually pretty strong for me. I got this one pretty neat almost all the time because it was quite a nice corner, and I kept knocking that first corner there, which was a problem for me. I knocked it about, I don't know, at least about 10, 11 times over the overall session, which was actually bad because it loses you a lot of time and secondly damages the kart, which you don't want. And also what you don't realize is this track is also very dark. I bumped up the contrast for you in the editing, but when you're actually at the track, on the track, the lighting is extremely dark. I'll quickly put a section in for you where I'll actually show you how dark it is. It's ridiculous how dark it is, but it was actually a fun track layout. The only problem is also it's very difficult to overtake. You'll see when I eventually catch up to this man in front of me, I couldn't overtake him. There's no space to overtake because they've also got a sign saying there don't overtake. So there again, I knocked the wall. I'm trying to take too much speed and cut that corner too much, but I wasn't nailing that braking point. I was braking way too early and not carrying the speed through the corner. Around this corner you can actually reach at the bottom of the section there when you go across the start finish line. You can actually reach about 76. That was my fastest time. Speed was actually 76 kilometers per hour. Inside that's pretty fast there. As you see there, I just took the corner way too shallow and I touched the right side of the cart against the wall and it just grabbed it and it pulled me into the wall. So I did a miscalculation there. At this point my tires were actually quite warm and the grip was starting to come to me. As you can clearly see, I actually hit the wall there quite hard and it hurt actually. It threw me into the side and it hurt quite a bit, and I realized, okay, the tires weren't warm to the extent that I can push that hard, but they were starting to come to me. It was slowly coming to me. So I just had to slowly work and build the laps because, like I said, my main mistake was trying to go way too fast into this, and that was wrong because I wasn't prepared for it. my fastest lap was actually lap 16. I'll have a lap counter on in the edit, but my fastest lap was lap 16. I can't remember the exact time, but it was 17.4 or something, which is ridiculously slow because the fastest lap around here is 16 on the dot. Basically, it's like 0.01 or something, but it's quite fast, and I was way off the pace, at least 1.5 seconds off, which is really bad. Again, I nailed that section, and I'm starting to catch this boy in front of me, and I knew it would be a problem because eventually I'd catch him and I'd have to pass him. But the problem is this track is very difficult to pass on because there's not really overtaking spots. But I thought, okay, let me just try, and it didn't end too well for him, unfortunately, but I did back off. So at this point I'm getting very close to him. There's the blue light flags in order to tell him to just maybe move out the way, but I don't think he knew what that meant. So I just backed off a little bit, see if I could maybe catch him down the straight, but it didn't end too well. So I get a very good exit out of there, very nice line through this long section, and I get very close to him. And he braked so early. I didn't expect him to brake so early, and it gave me a fright, and it got me a red flag if you look there on the right. So I think it was actually supposed to be a black and white flag, but yeah. So I actually think he braked way too early. He didn't have any confidence in the kart, and I expect him to brake a lot later, and it just threw me off, and I went into the back of him by accident. And when I backed off, my tires lost the temperature, and you saw I just slid there into the wall again, and I actually felt really embarrassed that I actually hit him. That wasn't right on my side, but unfortunately he was going so slowly, and he also hit that braking point very early, so coupled with that I just went straight into the back of him. See there, that time I actually got it quite nice. I took most of the track width, and I got this section quite neat actually, and I got a very good run onto the long straight, which in essence got me that 76 km an hour, and it feels so fast in the kart, but yet watching the footage back it looks so slow. And then I messed that up again, and then I go around this head, and then there we go. That's a nice exit again. Let's see around the corner. I get very close to the guy in front again, and eventually I'm just gonna have to back off again because he didn't have really much confidence in the kart that I saw from traveling behind him. He had a fairly decent racing line. He was trying to protect quite a lot, and at this point I just back off a little bit because I'm getting way too close again because he's got no confidence in the kart, and he's unpredictable. That's the problem. I don't know where he's gonna go, so I just back off. And I probably should have kept my tires warm by swerving and just braking, accelerating, but I didn't. So unfortunately my tires got cold, and you'll see when I go for it again I actually start sliding quite a lot because there's no heat in the tires, and I just slide all over the place. You see, it's just sliding all over the place, it's squealing, it is quite difficult for this lap because the tires were getting cool, and I was used to and there we go, you see I go straight into the wall. I was used to the warm tires, and it just wasn't there because I had to back off. So it did throw me off a little bit, but after about a lap or two it would just come back. I was going to the limit on this track with the track limit. You'll every now and then hear like a knocking. It wasn't actually me hitting the wall, it was actually just the side plates to protect the kart just touching the barrier and it kinking in. So I didn't actually really hit the wall, it was more of just nicking it, but I was getting extremely close to the walls in this section. But that first corner there on the straight I hit quite a lot, like hit properly, and on the second corner there on the straight I also went into the wall quite a bit. But at this point I had actually realized the grip was insane. It was just so consistent. I could know exactly where the grip was and when it was going to fall away, and it was extremely consistent. And it was actually ridiculous that I didn't do any better because it was consistent. It's just me who wasn't consistent. So I think my next video will be here again because I need to prove that I can actually do this track quite nicely. But I think the main problem is I was actually struggling to see because it was actually quite dark compared to what it is now in the video. I mean, in this section here with this little right, left, it was so dark. There was virtually no light there, so you virtually had to guess where you're going. And I just look up the wheels there, and he waves the flag for the checkered flag. So this will be my last time around this corner for now. And it was actually a pretty bad session. I mean, I hit the wall a lot. I was so inconsistent the whole time, and it was actually very bad. So unfortunately, you win some, you lose some, but I will be working on that consistency because I didn't actually expect the grip to be this much. So I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment as to what you would have done differently, actually, because it's quite interesting to hear what you might have done differently. Enjoy, and I'll catch you in the next one.